next guest is New York Post editorialist Robert George to talk about the latest developments in the Trayvon Martin shooting. Welcome, George. Robert.
Jason, Riley. When you've got all those those four first names between us, it gets a little bit confusing. Exactly.
So now we have a leaked police report telling George Zimmerman, the shooter's side of the story. What do you make of this?
Well, when we were talking about this last week, we're trying to be lots of caveats on here because there's a lot of stories going. It certainly puts the entire case in a slightly different light, in that there's a witness that's come forward that says that he saw Trayvon Martin on top of George Zimmerman and was apparently punching him and banging his head against the ground. On the face of it, that supports the idea that Zimmerman was feeling that there was a physical threat so great that he needed to react with deadly force. And this is why it's important. Why it's another tragedy is that all of this is going on and being tried in the media, because even this statement creates even more questions.
Sure.
Not the least of which is, did the witness only see Martin on top of Zimmerman, or did he see what was going on right before?
Right.
We don't know whether Martin tried to grab. Excuse me. We don't know if Zimmerman tried to grab Martin, and because ironically, the whole idea of the stand your ground law, which has come up a lot, is that if Zimmerman tried to put his hand on Martin, and Martin, it's in the dark, rainy, so forth, and he feels that he's fearing for his life, he has every right to retaliate as much as possible.
Even with this new development, it still doesn't change some fundamentals here, which is that Zimmerman instigated this.
Right.
And then
though there is a question,
Trayvon Martin apparently pushed back in some way, and then got shot. And Zimmerman said, "I did so in self-defense."
That's right. Now, this has become a minefield of legal analysis that's going on here, because there's this question that's come up, particularly in the case of Florida, as to who is an initial aggressor in a specific incident. Right. On the face of it, one would think that Zimmerman was, because he's the one pursuing Martin. Zimmerman says that he lost track of Martin, withdrew, then Martin turned around and kind of jumped him. But there was a late development coming in on Thursday. I think ABC News is reporting that the officer on the scene, talking to Zimmerman, said that he did not believe his story and felt that the facts warranted a manslaughter charge, but he was apparently overruled by a state's attorney. Yeah. So this is going to be going on for quite a while.
Let's talk about some of this media swirl and get at that, because what we've seen happen here is what we've seen so many times over the years. The civil rights establishment has descended on this event, and what I want to ask you is whether you think this has been helpful or harmful on balance. You have the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons coming to town. You have the NAACP. Ben Jealous, the head, was on one of the Sunday talk shows on Sunday talking about this. What has been the effect of this?
I don't mind Ben Jealous going on Meet the Press, given it's a big story. It's a media story, and putting it in some kind of a context from civil rights.
If that's what he's doing.
Just taking that at face value, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton going down there does not help the case. It certainly doesn't help the case that they, I'm assuming it was National Action Network, one of them fly the Martin parents up to New York and get them basically and bring them into these other broader liberal causes like Occupy Wall Street and stuff like that. They have a rally in the middle of New York, and then they have another rally down there. what's already happened is the governor the governor of Florida has called a session to review Stand Your Ground. A grand jury has already been being convened. The Department of Justice, the Federal Department of Justice, has said that they're going to be looking at this. If the early protests were legitimate because they felt there was an injustice that had occurred, and this case needed to be reviewed, that's actually happened. It may or may not finally end up in the result that people want. But the wheels of justice are moving now, okay. And what is happening though now, turning it into a circus does no one any good. And in fact, it helps perpetrate these leaks that that some people have called smears on Trayvon Martin.
Yeah. Also, we got about a minute left. I wanted to ask you about the political response. President Obama weighed in. Newt Gingrich and others have had a response to what Obama said. What do you make of that?
I actually liked him. I actually liked the president's statement. My former boss, Newt Gingrich, looked at the last line, which again, admittedly, was the one that was most quoted, where he said, "If I had a son," Obama says, "If I had a son, he would look like Trayvon." But he set up that statement ahead. It was clearly that he had thought about this. He initially said, first of all, as president, I oversee the Justice Department. There's a review going on here. I don't want to prejudge what's going on. As every parent, I'm a parent of 2 kids. As any parent of America would, I'm concerned that something like this would occur. And so at the very end, he made a personal message to Trayvon Martin's parents, in a sense, as a black parent to other black empathize. And I thought that was an appropriate response. And I thought Newt Gingrich's idea that he thought it was only a racial claim, I think, was unfounded.